Welcome to What's Up Wednesday, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. It's hard to believe that here we are already at the beginning of November. The holidays are upon us, and before we know it, we're going to be entering the new year. So time to start thinking about setting goals for 2024, really considering what we want to accomplish. So last week, I talked a little bit about the documentary I watched on Metallica and kind of dysfunction within organizations and getting somebody to help when that dysfunction emerges. And I'd say dysfunction is something that you see across any organization. This week, I wanted to maybe apply it a little bit to the safety industry and what I've seen in almost 35 years now. Now, when I first entered the industry, I started out as a union laborer doing underground trenching excavation work, utilities, concrete foundation work. And then I built pontoons for a floating bridge for a while before I got into safety. And I remember that it was ironic because safety was not a role that was highly valued by the craft in the field, or a lot of times by the management in the field. We were a problem. That's probably the easiest way to put it. We were out there to make everybody's lives more difficult and more challenging. And that's just the way it was. That's how they looked at it. And I remember code words on jobs where you'd hear over the radio, Captain Crunch is in the building or something like that. And that always meant, hey, safety's on site, watch what you're doing. So it was there was this gotcha type of a mentality and attitude. And so many safety professionals it seemed were former firefighters, former police officers. It was very, very compliance oriented. And the safety people tended to utilize, not all, I'm stereotyping a little bit here or generalizing, but there was a lot of stick versus carrot, meaning punishment versus encouragement. And over the years, I've watched as things have changed a bit. And I would say safety's become more commonplace because maybe to an extent it's understood better. For so many years, we had a safety role in our businesses because we had to, and we wanted to prevent losses. My degree is in loss control management, not safety and health, loss control management. It was all about controlling losses. Now, so many companies look at safety as a profit center opportunity. Production, safety, quality, they all go hand in hand. They're one and the same. And I think that is part of that transformation in our industry that we've seen over time. But when we look back at some of the why behind the way that the craft and the way that field management looked at safety, I think honestly, folks, we brought that on ourselves to an extent. Now, number one, I know that upper management was still very production focused. It was all about the bottom line, making money. And they didn't want safety to slow anything down. So we had a disadvantage to start out in our profession because we couldn't slow down production, but we needed to prevent injuries. We needed to keep people safe. Over time, I think that safety professionals have proven to be very consistent and also have been able to weather the challenges that have been thrown at us by being strategic. And I'm not saying that all safety professionals are strategic, but I've known some very strategic people over the years who are, some of them are former mentors who are unfortunately gone or retired now. But ultimately, they changed the landscape of our industry and they made it easier for us because they got buy-in at the higher level. They got the C-suite to look at safety very differently than they did prior. And at the same time, I think that safety professionals realized that we needed to take a much more collaborative approach to our jobs. We needed to get buy-in from the field. We needed to really emphasize the why. What's in it for me? Why do I want to work safely? And it seems very obvious to us that everybody would want to go home to their family every night. But the culture didn't really consider that. The culture was about protecting the culture. And if you've worked in the industry, if you've worked in construction specifically, you know what I'm talking about. When I say logger, when I say iron worker, when I say Bering Sea fisherman, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to culture. And ultimately, we as safety professionals, as leaders, have been able to influence and change that culture over the last 20 and 30 years, and actually well before that, but the 30 years almost that I've been, or 35 years almost that I've been in the industry. And ultimately, we've done so through, again, collaboration, getting the craft involved in making decisions, solving problems, not making safety about safety, making safety about the craft and the people doing the work. And I think that that's been the big shift. And sure, granted, I wouldn't have a job if safety wasn't still super important, but we have seen a huge shift in so many companies really embracing safety as one of their core values. Now, there are a lot out there. Like I said, I still have a job because there are a lot of companies who still don't get it. I see them day in and day out doing things backwards. I see jobs that are terrible, to put it plainly. I mean, they have no safety culture. People take risks. There are rampant injuries, near misses, and ultimately it comes from leadership. So we should be proud of the journey we've made in safety. We still have a long ways to go. We're by no means there, but really that transformation has come through a collaborative approach as opposed to that authoritative approach that we used before. And with anything, I think influence goes a very long ways towards getting results. So hopefully that's helpful. We'll see you next Wednesday.